what 3 timeless takeaways would you leave with our listeners?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me on, Brendan. I've loved this chat. I talk about flying. I agree, like time is so relative, and it's true. Literally the last 60, 70 minutes are just flown. But the 3 tips I'd give, and they tie in, and I've used a lot of quotes in this podcast, but I tend to find that quotes and metaphors and figurative expressions tend to connect with me, and they tend to connect with other people as well. And I think to tie everything we said together, obviously, that don't forget the flowers at your feet when you're reaching for the moon is important. I think that's one for the listeners of this show in particular, because of the high achieving nature of everyone that's listening. It's something that can happen if you're not aware. So I would keep that in mind. When it comes to habits, I think it's normally attributed to Seneca, but sometimes it goes to other Stoic philosophers, of form good habits and then become a slave to them. I think that's a good way to look at habits. Choose the ones that are going to support you and then become a slave to them. Let them become automatic, and then obviously break the ones that aren't. And then to tie in with Charlie Munger to finish it off with the habits is the chains of habits are normally too strong to be broken or they're too weak to be broken until they're too strong to be changed, or it's a version of that. Or Robin Sharma's, Who Will Cry When I Die, and pulling it back to what's important to you, what's valuable for you, what are you doing in your life every day that is at your highest value, but ultimately pull it back to, well, who's going to cry when you die? And that makes what can be a complicated world with so many people to please and so many people to provide service to and so many things to do, narrows it down. Well, who's going to cry when you die? And then once you ask that question, you know where you need to focus your time, energy, and attention, and make sure that those relationships are where they need to be. Because ultimately, at the end, and I talk about this in Rewire Your Mindset, your 97-year-old deathbed, what would you regret more? There's a good chance you're not going to regret doing all those emails. There's a good chance you won't regret those 80-hour weeks, or you'll regret those 80-hour weeks, but you could regret not spending time with your loved ones. You could regret spending and saying yes to all these things that actually were out of alignment with who you wanted to be and what you wanted to do. So ask who will cry when you die, and then do that 97-year-old regret. What would you regret on your deathbed? And that can work as a North Star, or at least a filtering for where you should be focusing and aiming your direction and attention towards that North Star.